as Max and Aaron, to give credit to them, they've been reporting on this issue now obsessively, especially Aaron, for 2 years and have been vindicated.
Yes, and unfortunately, I mean, one consequence.
I'm vindicated. It's like being acquitted.
Well, exactly. No, but it's like one like the import of the fact that we've been vindicated is the fact that those who were on the opposite side, who were pushing this thing, have handed Donald Trump a massive victory, and that's something we've been warning about for 2 years.
A huge re-election gift. In fact, the biggest re-election gift he could imagine.
Yeah, Steve Bannon said Trump's going to go full animal now. And
Great.
you can totally imagine how they gamed this out and saw it coming, and now it's what? It's campaign season. The Democrats don't have a clear contender. Many of them had fully invested in Mueller indicting Trump ahead of the campaign, and I think Trump is the favorite to be reelected. On the other hand, I think that because the Democrats spent 2 years, and this is the Democratic leadership, as you said, Aaron, which has a lot in common with Trump. They're Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they're wealthy people. They are very close to Wall Street.
I mean, Trump gave money to Chuck Schumer for years.
Yeah. I said from the beginning that the Democrats, at least the Democratic leadership, was doing this because they wanted to oppose Trump without having to do anything genuinely progressive. In other words, to deal with what we call in the U.S. kitchen table issues, but which actually means class issues. And so in a way, this kind of does provide an opening for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who are into class issues. That's really at the center of their narrative. Anyway, where do you see it going before we, look back to the Keith Olbermann era when Olbermann was in his little cardboard GQ basement? Like, where do you see this going forward?
Well, where it goes forward, I think people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who I think, compared to the rest of the pack, have been relatively restrained. Although, of course, they had to pay lip service, or at least they decided they had to pay lip service to this whole Russiagate thing. But they're going to be in a bit of a box because they can't distance themselves too much from it because they bought into it. And to maintain credibility with the Democratic elite, who they have to, be in partnership with, at least in some respect, they can't throw them under the bus fully. So I think they're a little bit boxed in. And what I'm worried about is that if they pay too much credence to Russiagate still, even though it's now been destroyed, that once they get to the election and go head-to-head with Trump, Trump will be able to box them in and use Russiagate against them. And it'll be hard for them to both distance themselves from it by not throwing the Democratic Party fully under the bus. So it's just one of many catastrophic results of this whole thing from the beginning, including also the fact that now Trump and his GOP allies are going to be using their powers in Congress and the Senate to launch investigations. And the difference between, I think, their investigations and the Mueller investigation is that the investigations into the investigation are going to actually produce some damning stuff.
They're going to investigate the FBI, is what you're saying? I mean...
Yeah, because the FBI...
Part of me would welcome that.
Well, and I advocate it because, we should be supporting, accountability for intelligence agencies no matter what the partisan consequences are. Because, of course, those same intelligence agencies who decided to investigate Trump, in part because they didn't like his public embrace of Vladimir Putin, those same agencies, unless they're stopped, could open up an investigation against a candidate who endorses BDS or who...
Against a President Bernie Sanders, which is the ultimate irony of this, is that you had these Bernie Sanders supporters who accepted Russiagate and who advanced it for the past 2 years, and they don't realize that the same tactics that the intelligence agencies are using against Trump could be used against a President Bernie Sanders. Do you think that the FBI would be, and this is the whole nonsense behind this whole democratic socialism discussion, is that they think that the U.S. intelligence agencies that are freaking out about Donald Trump, who is a right-wing billionaire, who said a few critical things about NATO, and look how crazy the intelligence agencies got. Imagine if we have someone like Bernie Sanders or someone in the UK like Jeremy Corbyn.
No, it's already happened in the UK.
Exactly.
I just returned from the UK, and, I met with our friend Asa Winstanley, who has been suspended without any explanation from the Labour Party. And, talking to him, talking to, people who are relative political insiders there, like my friend Afshin Ratanzi, they're telling me that Corbyn has already been neutered. He's completely muted about this. One of his biggest pit bulls in the parliament, in the House of Commons, Chris Williamson, has also been suspended. And, the most Kafkaesque part about it is that they're not even allowed to talk publicly about their suspension or why it happened. And they used the fake anti-Semitism scandal to basically engineer a very British coup. Bernie Sanders, if he isn't looking at what just took place with Trump, where confidential operatives of the CIA and FBI, like Stefan Halper, were inserted into the Trump campaign in order to entrap members of Trump's foreign policy team into an intelligence intrigue. If he's not looking at that and seeing that by the time he gets to the White House, if he ever does, his socialist or social democratic agenda will be completely neutered by these same forces, then he's not taking American politics as it is seriously.
Which then returns to the point I was making, which is that, as we go forward now, Trump and his GOP allies are going to be investigating this, and they will come up with damning stuff because, as I've noted for a long time now, the predicate for this whole investigation was not there, and there were seriously shady intelligence decisions like the one that Max just mentioned. Also, the use of the Steele dossier, this DNC-funded, a phony Oppo research document, to get a surveillance warrant on Trump campaign volunteer Carter Page, and citing that the FBI in their application for the FISA warrant said that they believe Page is orchestrating a plot between Moscow and Trump. And their main source of that was the Steele dossier. So things like this are going to come out more and more now and get more attention because Trump has been given this gift, and that will help him in his reelection campaign all the more in his efforts to say he's the victim of a witch hunt.